It is now time to share with you the story of my mental illness. Uh, if you just want to know my diagnosis, it is schizophrenia, specifically paranoid schizophrenia. Ooh, scary. Yeah, I have schizophrenia. Um, it's at first when I was diagnosed, I couldn't believe it. It's not something that you hear a lot about, even though 1% of the population has it. It's really not something that's like out there, and it was certainly not something I had put a lot of research effort into in terms of I'm a psychology student. I learn about different mental health problems and diagnoses, and schizophrenia I learned about it later on in my bachelor's degree. Um, so I was diagnosed in 2019, early 2019, around April, May. And I'll tell you what my symptoms were. So it started as symptoms of depression and anxiety, which not that slowly, but not that fast, escalated. So, like at a medium rate, if you can imagine, let's say 4 months, they began to escalate in not in intensity, but they turned into like a psychosis. And what is psychosis? So, schizophrenia is essentially a thought disorder. So, people who have schizophrenia have distortions of their thoughts, of their sensory perception, and sometimes even their motor abilities, which is catatonia. Whoops. Um, so I'll tell you what I had. Like, I had a delusion, many delusions. I had, for example, I believed that a demon was following me and it tortured me every night. That was not fun. I believed that I was the reincarnation of Napoleon and that I was destined to rule the world. That was a little more fun. I also believed that nothing was real and that nothing I did mattered. That's a nihilistic delusion. So I went from a persecutory delusion, which was the major delusion that a demon was following me, was haunting me. I could perceive it like stomping on cars while I was walking on the sidewalk going to university. I remember that very vividly, and I was scared to look behind me because I thought I was gonna see him. And I also had like minor sensory alterations and dissociations. I still get dissociations to this day. And every time I mention the word dissociation, it's like a trigger. I immediately dissociate. So now I'm conscious of it, I'm dissociated right now. And it's not as intense now as it was before. I used to drive like that, and it was crazy. Irresponsible, yeah, and crazy. So yeah, that is a brief introduction to my madness. I was also like in terms of the sensory alterations. I remember this time I probably several times like this happened to me. Like I would like imagine things, and that would pop up into existence, into my imagination would picture something, and it would almost make it real. Um, and I never hallucinated visually. No, I have. I have hallucinated visually. I have seen like water coming down from the ceiling, and then there was nothing there. I have hallucinated, like auditory hallucinations, like murmurs, like you'd hear, like something like that. That's happened to me. Um, I've also heard people shout my name, and there's no one there. And my dissociation and the paranoid delusion was probably the most intense symptoms I had. Like the sensory part was not such a major deal in my case. It was more about like the delusions and the irrational beliefs. Um, yeah. So I started taking medicine. I started with quetiapine and then moved on to risperidone. So I was taking quetiapine, risperidone, and escitalopram. So 2 antipsychotics and 1 antidepressant. And then I completely changed my life. I just 180, just completely, like my brain just went like snap, and everything changed after I started taking medicine. It's a miracle. That medicine is a miracle. And so it didn't take long until I started seeing like the effects of the medicine, and I also went to therapy. And it didn't take long until I started seeing the effects of how well like the medicine was at uh, reducing my symptoms, almost to the point where they were negligible. Um, like the only symptom that I still have is the dissociations and some residual like feelings of depression, but that's not so much due to that's sort of like I feel guilty that I was mentally ill, and I did like very weird things in the past, and it's hard to like wrap your head around your behavior when you can't control most of it. Your past behavior, I mean. So yeah. That is a brief introduction to my uh, recovery journey. If you let me know what you want me to cover more in depth, I know it's a bomb I just dropped, but I am very well informed in schizophrenia. So if you want to learn anything, just ask me, and I'll tell you. I'll do good research, and I'll tell you anything. And I'll also speak from personal experience, right? So yeah, hope this was entertaining at least. Bye.